Well, alright, Mojang. Tiny Takeover add-on for free, but a month after the update. I guess better late than never. Tippy top of the morning to you. Today, we've got end updates, combat updates, an anvil update, and some weird changes to waypoints to take a look at. If you have taken a breath today, like at least one, smash that like button, and let's dive right in. Gamers, it is time to rejoice, or don't, depending on your vibe. This week, the Sulfur Cave biome on Bedrock Edition looks entirely different yet again. So I know it's a bit dark, but checking this thing out with vibrant visuals and without night vision, because the vibe of this place shifts quite a bit. We can see the granite generation and the tough generation has been brought over to Bedrock Edition. And in this particular cave right here, admittedly, it doesn't actually look the worst. But honestly, I think the thing that is helping it a lot here is vibrant visuals and the glow lichen. The developers have increased the amount of glow lichen generating inside of the Sulfur Cave biome again, at least on Bedrock. And I mean, I can't lie, I do think it looks really nice, especially paired in here with the sulfur spikes as well. The biome looks way more detailed and kind of interesting. Now, this biome is kind of perfect for it because it generated at the bottom of the world, and tragically, bottom of the world, the Sulfur Cave will no longer create gigantic holes into the bedrock on Bedrock. Yes, so this was kind of a beautiful bug that I never had the chance to talk about, but over the course of the last few previews, or if you jump into the 26.10 update, this Sulfur Cave biome is going to make gigantic holes in Bedrock. Like, obviously, man, you can see here, this should all be Bedrock, but no, it's just cinnabar and sulfur, so you can dig right through and get to the bottom of the world. Flipping vibrant visuals off and taking a look at the Sulfur Cave on Bedrock Edition, even then, I do think it actually looks a little bit better with all the glow lichen. Also, check out the glow lichen patches. Unlike in the other cave biomes, the patches get a little bit more sizable. Like, what is that, 5, 6 connecting to each other? That's unusual. I don't think the biome is perfect in any means. I mean, I still love the idea of calcite, but I guess allegedly Jappa said calcite just doesn't work in this biome. I don't know. I mean, I just really think you replace the tuff with the calcite inside of this biome. Heck, you even just allow the granite to generate in here, and man, this place would look so cool. Also, can we cut out all of the random deep slate and stone? That'd be nice. Back up here on the surface, inside of this week's preview, we have an interesting change to the Sulfur Cube that Java Edition does not have. This has to do with the sounds of the cube. Listen. They are all different depending on what you put inside of a Sulfur Cube. The sounds have now been made unique, and even when you brush up against it, the sound will actually play here. Now, these sounds are good. I love the idea that every single cube actually gets a unique sound based off of what kind of ball or like whatever's inside of the cube. It's pretty cool. Now, this week in the preview, of course, there's a lot of focus on the Sulfur update being the first official preview of the Sulfur cycle. But honestly, the most exciting things that I want to talk about today, well, they happen to things that aren't necessarily part of the Sulfur update. One final thing, though, before we move on from the cube and check out everything else, parity update check. Oh, man, the Sulfur Cube can still have honey and slime blocks. These blocks can still go inside of it on Bedrock Edition. And they actually maybe have different sounds going on as well. Oh, this is dangerous, but the skeleton. Mojang has finally updated the skeleton, and it made it a little bit less overpowered. Now the shooting of the arrows from the skeleton. Dude, what the f is your problem? That's just a sheep, brother. The arrow shooting from the skeleton is now in parity with Minecraft Java Edition. Now, as a Java main, I'm way more familiar with how the skeletons behave on Java, but I guess on Bedrock previously, the rate of fire from which the skeleton's arrow would depart its bow was dependent upon how far away the player actually was from the skeleton. Meaning, if I were farther away from the skeleton, I think it would shoot a little bit slower. Maybe that fire rate, I got it swapped around, but this is how it's been since 2020. 6 years now. Half of my lifetime. Because I'm just not really that familiar with how the skeletons were on Bedrock Edition, I can't comment on if this change feels so much better or what, but based off of the small amount of testing that I've done over the past couple of days, it definitely feels pretty similar to Java. Skeletons are definitely still going to be a nightmare though, so good luck. Changes like this one and some of the other stuff we'll talk about later on make me wonder about combat and mobs in general. Fall 2024, Mojang said they were working on mob spawning and biomes, everything like that, and then nothing happened. I guess I just always wonder if maybe some of these mob changes, they could relate to a greater mob parity update the Bedrock Edition could see. Anvils. You know how it goes. You're trying to repair a tool, it'll tell you it's too expensive. You're trying to do something that's impossible. Well, it didn't really tell you much, but it's impossible. On the other hand, maybe you're trying to repair a tool and you don't have the levels. It'll tell you enchantment cost 1, and basically, you can't do it. The anvil. It's definitely one of those weird things in the game that feels like it needs an overhaul, but the developers don't seem to necessarily agree. Well, now the anvil is not only going to get a brand new look, but also some different descriptors as well, maybe hinting at further changes. Nipitar, we know them, we love them, always finding these brand new looking inventories inside of the files. New ORUI anvil screens, they went ahead and changed it. The text input is going to change to a more darker one when there is an item inside of it. So for example, that means by default, we have the anvil now looking something like this. I love the vertical layout right there, that looks really good. And then when we had something inside of it, like let's say we had something in that first slot, this item slot right there, where we could rename it, will get a little bit darker. Now this right here is what the screen will look like if we have something inside of the anvil that isn't quite going to work out. We have that red X. I love how defined and just modernized these graphic art feels. Then this is if we are enchanting it and it is working, maybe I can pay for it. And then finally, one more time, not much of a difference here, but when something's inside of the anvil, the item slot gets darker. But when it comes to our anvil updates, that's not all. It appears that the anvil is going to get more descriptive as well. Smoky Sack found these new strings of text that'll go with the new upgraded anvil inside of the files. We've got enchantment cost and then whatever it is, that's same old and normal. Now we have incompatible. That'll be if I'm inside of the anvil trying to do something illegal, like maybe putting a honey block on a sword. Yeah, that doesn't work like that. It should though, that'd be cool. Then instead of an item being too expensive, we are now going to have item overworked. Item overworked to too expensive. That's an interesting vocabulary change. It seems that Mojang has heard the community out on the whole too expensive to repair thing and at least kind of agrees. So they went ahead and changed the vocabulary. This is kind of giving instructions unclear, but we tried anyways. And then finally, we have repair, name, and enchant. Those will be strings of text that'll pop up when you have an item in the anvil that you can do any of those things with. Too expensive is finally over, except it's kind of not really at the same time. Now, Nipitar has found a couple of other interesting things inside of the preview as well. For example, bundles. They will indeed be dyed UIs, which will be cool. If you're going to remember, this is kind of like the shulker UIs that we took a look at a while ago. And then actually, do you remember this old hotbar changed UI from like, it must have been 2024? Well, they've changed it. The new ORUI hotbar, it's going to be a little bit different, but much more familiar to what we have in game right now. Right here is an updated screenshot of the modernized ORUI hotbar. It's basically just more square, and the shading is a little bit more clean. Jumping in game right here, you can see that the current hotbar, well, it's the exact Java Edition one. There's a little bit more pixel work going on, and the gray is darker in tone. All right, now next up, waypoints. Something odd is happening to waypoints, and I would wager that this update might see some big changes. So we'll start with a little bit of a refresher that in 26.2 snapshot number 4, Mojang went ahead and made quite a few changes to nameplates and scoreboards teams displaying and how you could change them. Now, inside of 26.30.20, well, we actually have quite a few changes to the locator bar, including the removal of a game rule, the random renaming to player waypoints as a game rule. So look, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the locator bar added in Chase the Skies update. And in my opinion, for a single-player like myself, the locator bar, way underutilized. We still think we should be able to track other things like pets on the locator bar. If there's ever a time to change the locator bar, adjust it, maybe inside of an update all about a multiplayer functionality thing. You know, the sulfur cube, and then we have changes to teams and scoreboards on Java. Maybe Mojang is actually finally cooking up some big upgrades to the locator bar. If anything, God, I beg that we could mark other things like pets and maybe even locations on the locator bar. It would make this thing seriously so much more cool. For now, we wait and see though. Wait, did somebody say end update? Oh man, inside of this week's preview, this is so weird, but jumping into the end right here, the main end island, the Ender Dragon fight, If I haven't taken out the Ender Dragon inside of my world, which I haven't, a thick fog will now descend upon the central end island while I am fighting the dragon. Now look, this change is a little bit weird because it pops up inside of the graphical section of the changelogs, aka usually where vibrant visuals related changes pop up. And it's got me going kind of crazy, man. I don't remember how it was on Bedrock Edition, but here we can see on the central end island, while I'm battling the dragon, theoretically, it's quite dark off in the distance. Even when these big booms happen here, we can see that it's kind of hazy foggy. Now, boom. We go ahead and take out the Ender Dragon just like that. I'm very powerful. We wait for this animation to go ahead and finish up, and then snap of the fingers. All of a sudden, we can see the purple sky again, and things get way more clear. Now, also, you tell me if I'm going crazy here, but it definitely looks like a glowing and light dissipation inside of the end has been changed inside of this preview as well. It looks much more foggy and better. Also, how long has the Ender Dragon egg, the item, been so luminous, like the little purple parts on it? Has that been like that for a long time too, or did they change it? These are very beautiful end changes, kind of random. In parody with Minecraft Java Edition though, but oh my god, I can't stop staring at this torch right here, dude. This is like so beautiful looking. I just love it. Alright, now the final thing that I'd like to take a look at today seems like it relates to the Sulfur Cube. Inside of this preview, you scroll all the way down to the more technical changes, and then we find a section called Entity Filters. They have added the redstone strength at position entity filter that will test the redstone strength signal at the subject's entity's position. Now look, inside of this week's preview, it seems like nothing is being used by this filter right now, but oh man, this totally seems like the kind of toggle that you would implement to have the Sulfur Cube interact with redstone. Maybe we have a block inside of it, and then all of a sudden, this redstone line is lit up. Dude, now that would be a revolution. So, here goes nothing. Here's to hoping that redstone functionality has added the Sulfur Cube before this update is finished. Nothing is guaranteed quite yet, but that is definitely a weird technical change. You find anything else intriguing in the preview, as always, tell me about it down below. Smash that like button, subscribe. And if you want to join the coolest club in the world, smash that join button today. You get world downloads, cool extra perks, your name inside of my survival world. Until next time, I guess bounce on. We'll go with that today. Goodbye.